Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
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 So we understand. Thank you for inviting us in to give a little background on what we've gone through with the process here and the concept that we've got. The guidelines for today, I'll introduce Suzanne Paul. We'll talk a little bit about the process that we used to get to this point. Then I think what we all want to talk about is the concept that we settled on with the staff, the cost opinion of that, and what the plan would be to go forward from here. So as Eric said, I'm Ted Muselowitz. I'm project manager and architect for Garmin Miller. Eric Payosley is the interior designer who worked on the project to this point and did the bulk of the programming work for this as well. So unfortunately, we were going to have Shira Elder, who's our site planner, on the call, but she had a conflict tonight, so I apologize for that. So backing up a little bit, this is kind of taking off on the schedule we laid out at the beginning of this project. Back in November, at the beginning of November, we had the kickoff meeting with stakeholders. It was really was the staff, the mayor, the police chief, and everyone else there as to how we were going to move through this process. And over the next few weeks, we brought our full team out to look at the building, but we also did a series of interviews with everyone on the staff, understand what their concerns were, what the needs were for each department, and how they all needed to work together. And we put that together in a big document program, spreadsheet, that we then came back on another set of meetings and reviewed with all the staff and made some modifications to that based on their comments. And we finally got to an improved, finalized program just before Christmas. And we had took the next month or so to develop a few options, and we'll talk about that later, to kind of review with village staff and get a little bit of back and forth, getting some feedback and talking through the pluses and minuses of each option. We've kind of arrived at the concept where we're at right now on February 26th, towards the end of February there. So, and I'll let Erica talk a little bit about the programming process and how we got to where we're at.
Okay, so it's kind of build on what Ted was already explaining when it comes to the programming process. How we started that is we met with all the staff members. We discussed what everybody does day in, day out, how they interact, what's working in their current space, what's not working. We looked at what furniture and equipment are in the space. We talked about if that needed to be different in any way. We talked about certain architectural features that we wanted to maintain. And then we took all that information and we put it into an Excel spreadsheet. And then we go back to the staff and then really go through line by line and make sure that we've heard everything correctly. And then we refine. And then we also, another important thing we do at this time is we establish what's a need and what's a want. And so we take all that information, refine it, and then send it back to the staff as a complete document, which is basically a big picture look at what needs to be part of the new building.
I would say this is, it's a pretty substantial document. You may have seen it. We can certainly forward it. The snapshot we have here is really just the summary. And this isn't set in stone that this is the number of square feet we need to have, but it serves as a guideline for us going forward. So, oh, I lost it there. All right. So taking that information, then we started working through the different options, different possibilities and different configurations where that could fit on site. So we looked at a full building, full existing building plus additions or additions. And we actually looked at different options kind of with that same setup. We looked at partial building renovation and addition plus a partial demolition of the existing building. And we looked at a complete new build and a full demolition of the existing building. and we worked with staff to kind of evaluate those, and some of the factors that we looked at as we went through is first was how well these layouts could meet the program space needs and the adjacencies, how the flow was between the departments in the building and how the use would be. With a new build, that's a little easier to do. With the renovation, we're working with the existing footprint, so it's a little bit trickier. We looked at, on the renovation side, the value of the existing elements, from a cost point of view, what we could gain from them, but also just in terms of their inherent value for the community. We looked at, this is really a big factor in the layout, the accessibility. Again, if we're doing a new build and it's a single story, it's a little bit easier to deal with the multiple levels. Probably the most important factor in the layout for us was how can we get the accessible entrances that we need, accessible use of the space, and connectivity between the groups. And we looked at site utilization. What's the most effective way to utilize the site, effective way as well, and how that played into accessibility, because I'm sure you do have a fair amount of grade on the site that lends itself to the levels in the building, and that also plays into the accessibility of the whole picture. So, and then looking, sort of taking the big picture of all those things, looking at the cost effectiveness of all of that, and how that play into the final number. So the concept that
I'm sorry. I just wanted to write down this square footage breakout. Could you flip back to that slide for a second?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
I had a question also, if I may.
Yes.
In terms of, I hadn't heard you mention the fact that the building's used for community gatherings at times. So the council meetings are there, and every once in a while there's a large amount of people that come. Did you determine what the occupancy is? In the
You mean in
space?
terms of
how
number?
many, in terms of how many people in the public can be at a council meeting, for example?
But the maximum capacity for the space we designed for, which would be standing room, would be 150.
It would be.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Ted. I got it.
Yes. And we can forward the full document if you'd like as well.
Yes, Ted, that'd be great. And if everyone could let Ted get through his thing and then hold your questions and we'll get everything to everybody. All right.
So we'll start off with the site concept that we settled on here. So I think the first thing to look at is, though this is, we're looking at a full renovation and really two additions, one off to the west side that's part of the admin, and one, a smaller one on the east side that's part of the police department. Even though this is shown on one plan, it's important to think of, this is really an upper level and a lower level. That's a half flight between them here. So that the administrative part on the west side using the existing community room and that space, and then the police department and what's the EMS bay currently, and a small addition there. So we settled on this for a couple reasons. One is it gives us the distinct entrances. We've got really public entrance and then the police department back door for them to bring their guests in, kind of separated at different levels. Laying out the additions this way is really the most cost-effective and efficient use of the site that we can get. Up on the west side of the building, you really have a big flat area, and really over up to the front portion here as well, that's more or less on level with the existing here, so it's easier to add on a large section over here. When we get down into adding off in the other direction, we start to run into some pretty significant grading issues to try to resolve for accessibility. And this allows us here to utilize the existing parking lot for the most part as well. So we've got the existing parking lot where we've got the police parking down here. We've also added sort of public parking up front here to entrance to interact directly with the front entrance here. Eric will talk a little bit on the next slide about the building interior, but really we get the back of the community room here and the break room, sort of the public spaces with a deck out here that get a view of the lake. And we can, as we develop this, we can get some pathways down off the deck and down on the slope here, thin out the vegetation here so you get a nice filtered view of the lake. I think this would be pretty nice and lead you down to the grass area here where we can have some public functions potentially going on when the weather's nice.
Yeah, and also the police side being a little bit lower than the admin side and the
Yes.
community center, you are not blocking that view there.
Yeah, that's true. This addition on the police section will be down a level so that you'll be looking right over top of that at the lake. Go ahead, Erica.
So this is a space plan. This is a look at what happens when you look at all those programming spaces and set it to paper. So you're seeing all the community spaces up front that we talked about needing. So the men's restroom, women's restroom, larger restrooms, a reports room so that the police can have a space to interact with community members coming in. The community room, which Ted already mentioned that you can have 150 standing room. We've got some furniture storage for the dais and the chairs, so you can push those out of the way if you're having one of those standing room only functions. And we've even got a utility sink back there, so you have that service for housekeeping. And then on the other side of the space, the kitchen and break room is pretty much an extension of the community room. When you're entertaining with that space, you can lay out food there and just treat it as an extension there. Another reason we put the kitchen break room in this space is we wanted to utilize the architectural feature of the ceiling, which lays above this space nicely. And then we can get the adjacent admin suite nicely in the rest of this portion of the building. So we've got the clerk of courts and the admin receptionist. We have them side by side, both with window access to the community rooms because both need a way to interact directly with the community members coming in. Mayor's office, open office, some dedicated restrooms to their group, a conference space, fiscal office, and there at the center before you get to the stair, you have the shared work copy area used by both admin and police. And then when you go down the stairs, you're into essentially another office, so a separate station, and all on one level. So you have the open office there. You're seeing the new locker rooms, so men and women's locker rooms with showers. And then we've got all the additional private offices. We've got them with their own entry adjacent to that police parking that we looked at earlier, so that they can bring whoever they've got with them into this area directly into processing. And we have that adjacent to evidence, so that's all working. And then we gave them some additional storage space here because they sorely need storage space.
So I think a couple notes about this. There were, so we have an accessible entrance to the police side, accessible public entrance in here. So this is where everyone in the community interacts with the village will come into the building. We don't necessarily need an accessible elevator between these two. We can in the future, if needed, accommodate a lift here to provide that. The other piece of this that we've talked about is kind of, we really look pretty hard at how we could use that basement in an accessible fashion. And what we ended up with was that it was more efficient to use that for all the mechanical space. We'd be bringing in new electrical service and connecting down to that space with a stair back here to open up the area. and use that as some additional storage. So it's kind of bonus storage down there, which I think will be well used. I think a lot of what's in the back room of the police room right now, I think it can wind up down there, and some of the big seasonal pieces, which will work out pretty well.
I'm
I'd also-
impressed.
I'm also mentioned that there is kind of a private entrance to the administrative side as well for them to use.
Is the space that you described where police meet with either members of the public or for training sessions and whatnot, is that dedicated to the police function, or is that multi-purpose?
The reports room, I think, is what you're referring to.
Well, I
Um,
can't see the name of it very clearly.
I'm sorry. So I think this is, Erica, you could weigh in, but I think, so this would be when someone's coming in to file a police report. I suppose it's possible that it could be used, but I think because of the sort of secure nature of it, that there's documents going on in there, that it's really more or less dedicated to that function.
So it couldn't be used as a conference room for staff or something.
Yeah.
There's numerous conference rooms just across the hall.
Well, I realize that. I was just inquiring if that was going to be a multi-purpose space or not.
I will also say this is, when we're looking at this plan, this is concept plan. I think we've got, we've gone in conversations with staff several times to kind of work out some of the details of this. But there's, as we move through the process, there might be more details that certainly will come up, and there'll be some adjustments made to this. I think we're all fairly confident at this point that this is very close to the amount of space that's needed and the functions that are needed, and they're in roughly the right places. Again, with just kind of the first look at what the exterior of the building could be, and this is another area where, as we move through the process, there'll be a lot of development here. But this would be the north entrance, looking out to the street. So this would be, we've got a porch over the main public entrance here. And then on the east side, sort of down the hill at the back of the parking lot, where the police entrance would be. And then as you come around the back corner of the south elevation looking out to the lake, we've got the elevated deck up here, windows out of the public spaces. As I mentioned, as we develop this, I think there's some opportunities to get down to the ground level over here and really utilize the lawn here in front of the lake. That's the biggest part of what we'd want to develop on the site side as well. And then the west elevation, which kind of looks out to we'll call it the flat field there, has some views of that area, but really doesn't necessarily interact with it.
The elevated deck you're showing there, are those doors or windows directly behind there, or is there?
We had this conversation just this afternoon in our office. We're currently showing windows there, but as we develop this door, we will certainly look at doors in those locations, or in some of those locations as it makes sense. And I will say what we're showing here too, I mentioned it's a first pass. Trying to look at some of the materials that are in the village. We've got brick, some siding, metal roofing. Kind of as we work through this process, some of that may change. We may change the quantities of the brick, especially as we work through the cost side of things. Things like, a metal roof might wind up being a bid alternate, and a few things like that as we look to balance costs. Good transition to the next slide. So when we looked at this, we broke down, you looked at cost of renovating the finished space, renovating the basement, the new construction work, site allowance, site utilities, and put that together and get a construction subtotal. Obviously, these are different factors for each one of these. We look at what a contractor would add on for their operating costs, and then a contingency in there. That gets us to a construction contract subtotal of around $1,630,000. We've got 12% soft costs that we're carrying, which is fees, surveys, permits, any work like that that will have to happen up in front before the bid takes place. So that gets a project cost total of just under 1.8 million. And I will say this, especially at this point in the project, we think this is really establishing a budget for us to work towards. So this isn't necessarily a dead-on estimate at this point. It's a working budget that I think we know that we can get this building in this range in a quality fashion. I will say that the construction market is really kind of crazy right now. It's very volatile. A few months ago, I think we were probably 6 months ago, we were getting a lot of bidders and really good bids. I think what's happening now, we're still getting bidders and a lot of interest in projects, but there's been some very, very odd commodity slowdowns and holdups. There's a few things you may have heard about. The price of lumber has gone way up because of some things that are going on at the Canadian border. We heard really since we did this estimate just last month that I sat in interviews with design build contractors, and they all told us, like, we just found out if we order steel joists today, we'll get them, they'll be delivered next year. So the whole market is dealing with that backflow right now. Pretty challenging to estimate things as we go along. I think we always check our estimates at each phase of design, but I think we would definitely bring in some outside eyes to estimate this, at least at some point. A piece of that is it is difficult to estimate right now, but I'm just starting to hear rumors that in the fall, towards the end of the year, that some of that commodity pressure might be lessening up. So that's just something that we got to work with as we work through the process. And kind of looking ahead to where we'd go from here. We are, once we get engaged, we kind of track our production through 3 different phases to get to where we have bid documents ready: schematic design, design development, construction documents. It's really continuous flow, but those are just good points for us to check where we're at. This is schematic design's about 60% complete. Design development's about 80% complete. We would expect that work to kind of wrap up at the end of August, and bidding and contract negotiation in September. Starting construction after that. We're kind of leaving a long window here for construction, taking it out to January of 2023, because we know you'll want to occupy this building, so there'll need to be some phased construction there. I think as we work through this process and get a better idea of how people can move around, this may tighten up a little bit as we work through it. So.
What's the plan for working out of the building? I mean, is there going to be a point, or are we going to have temporary facilities during this? I mean, has there been any consideration into trying to keep this place running or come up with a plan that lets us be able to function during construction?
I think we actually have thought a little bit about that, and I think the plan would be that I won't say there won't be any movement around. There may be some storage, but that police would stay in their current location at the beginning. We'd move the administration temporarily to the EMS bay while this portion of the upper portion of the current building was renovated. And that would involve probably some of the backside of getting the utility work done on what's the north side of the basement now as well. I do think that the new construction, because it's kind of outside the envelope, could actually be done at the same time. We just have to work out some temporary access to some of these spaces. But once this upper portion is complete, then the administration can move up to that area, and the EMS bay and the work in the police area could be completed for the police to move over. I think there's a lot of details that go into that, but that's kind of the thought process.
What about public record space?
So that's up there next to the open office and the admin space. So they've got a closet there, 71 square feet, for shelves, file cabinets, anything they need for public records.
I'm looking at a thumbprint. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think you might have addressed this, but I'm just curious. As far as I can think in my head about the way the building is currently set up, the stairway that goes down to the police office is somewhere where the conference room is right now.
Yes.
Next to it, yeah.
And it goes down into, and I think you mentioned this, what happens to that police department that's underneath? Does that all go to electrical and extra storage and everything?
Yes. So, well, it's really, it will be bringing in the new electric service, and probably, I think the back part of that space would be dedicated to mechanical, electrical. And then what's probably the bulk of what's the police area now could be set up for additional storage.
Okay, thank you.
I suppose I suppose one far out possibility is that you could actually have kind of an outside room accessible from the outside only to serve outdoor functions down here. But that's really, I think that's a possibility, but not really something we considered in this plan.
Hey, Ted, I just was frozen. Did you talk about using that space for other purposes already?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So earlier on in the discussion, and I don't know if you guys were present for this, but I know it was a council thing. There was a debate about a family restroom that appears to me no longer present. My question, and again, this may be completely off base. I'm not an interior designer, I'm not an architect, but would it be possible to have a family restroom if the reports room for the police were moved towards the main police section, perhaps into the storage, or, modify some storage space? It's not a hill that I would personally die on, but I understand that there is a lot of use for family restroom with family events, and having a police stuff all in one place makes sense to me. But that's the only thing I would say. Looking at it, I'm very impressed overall. I love the deck idea.
Just so you know, I'm the one that nixed that. That is where the family restroom was. And the whole purpose to it is we're missing a reports room in order for the people to be, so don't blame Ted and them for that. That is where the family restroom was. We're missing a reports room in order for residents to be able to come in easily and be able to do that. And then the actual thought was this could potentially be a multiple function room. Let's just be honest, we might get 1 or 2 people a day come in and need to talk to the police. And then we could go 3 weeks without seeing someone. So, I think that part of this, and what I was trying to say was, there's a lot of different functions other than plumbing that we could do with many of these rooms. Same thing with the community room. I know at one point, whether or not it happens, but we had thought about being able to, make this into 2 rooms to where we could close, just pull something across and make that 2 conference rooms if we needed to. Because the thing that we always, I think for me, half of this building is going to be empty 75% of the time. And I think that that's part of the thing that we need to remember, that the community room is only going to be mostly going to be used for Monday night meetings and planning and zoning. And then if you have an event, that's typically going to be on a Friday night, Saturday night, or a Sunday. So I'm the one that put the reports room there. based on the fact that we needed an additional room and closer to the front of the building. So people wouldn't have to truck all the way around and through it. That was the
Okay.
purpose. But it's again, Brian, Mark brought up a very valid point. I didn't look at things that way, and that's why we're having this discussion. So
And some of the discussions I think we can have without Garmin Miller
Yes,
here.
exactly.
Because we can obviously make changes like that and they can say, oh, you want that to be a bathroom again? Fine.
Exactly.
You want to get rid of these 2 bathrooms? Fine, just give us the last thing. So I think we can argue amongst ourselves without having them having to listen.
So
Right.
a couple quick things, if I may. This is a discussion that came up today on the issue with the family restroom. Two items. One, Mark, you're absolutely correct. In the future here, really what Garmin Miller needs to do is go forward and get because it's a long timeline where they have to get the bid documents ready to proceed out. And these kind of details, we can obviously work through that process while they're, moving forward on that. A restroom here, some plumbing here, not the end of the world from a budget standpoint when we're changing things around. The second thing I want to mention is that in the discussion today, and Ted, this is more for you to kind of ponder, can it be that the women's and men's restroom, this can be reconfigured to where we could do more private family related bathrooms? I mean, from a code standpoint, you could simply reconfigure this and have 3, I don't know how this gets reconfigured, maybe 4 private family restrooms in that same area and just reconfigure it a little bit.
Yeah, that's certainly something we could explore here. Obviously, the footprint winds up being a little different, but I think it's a path we could go down if you chose to do that. That'd be an interesting way to approach it. And you're right, that's the kind of thing these meetings, these kind of discussions will lead to us looking at some different options and parts of the plan for sure.
I had a question on the kitchen break room. Is there supposed to be plumbing in there?
There would be, yes. It's not showing up on this plan, so I apologize.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that.
Yep.
And we already, let's see, my other stuff, you've already, I think, got every other question I had. And that deck that's off of the community room, that's at the same level? There's no
Yes.
step down or step up to get to the
No.
deck? Okay.
There's no step down. There would be no step down from the community room, I think. To get, we probably would need a ramp or steps down to get it down to grade. That's something, I think once we get engaged, one of the first things we do is get a detailed survey of this, so we have a better idea of exactly where the grades are falling. We have kind of a general idea of grades now, but that I think we would have to come down in some fashion to get out to grade over in this corner.
Okay.
Well, I'm happy. I think it'll look great. I really do.
Well, guys, I mean, I feel bad that I haven't been involved in this until now because, the real conversation that I like, and this isn't going to be the time to do it, is the needs analysis that was done and what we need for the police department. I know this is going to be crazy sounding to some of you, but, I think I'm trying to understand why a lieutenant has his own office. Maybe there's something the lieutenant does that I'm not aware of.
Hey,
But
Tony, I would say that's a good question. Maybe we can have a meeting with the chief and he can go through some of this stuff and the staff there, because quite frankly, the architect's following, both the experience of how these are designed, police stations, and of course what staff inputs, and Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, but generally those two are kind of forming together to get your program.
we've been
That's
through
correct,
this
yes.
before with other architects, and it ends up we're at the same place again, in that the staff feels they need these spaces and all this area to work in.
I would
And
say that's definitely a conversation with the police department, because that's your major staff here.
Tony, if I may enter in, I'd put in some emails in the system about somehow or other, maybe we council members could schedule some extended time to look at this.
I get that, and I feel bad that we're just now getting involved in this. And like I said before, you know, we've been down this road before, and it ends up being a $2 million project. And
So-
I think that we can cut down the square footage. I wouldn't say dramatically, but quite a bit, because again, you know, you got processing, you know, I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm going to comment real quick on here. So we're talking about 120 square foot lieutenant office.
No, that's
which
not
again-
what all we're talking about.
Okay, well, you need an evidence room. We currently have a locker.
Listen,
is our
I don't want to get into this. I don't know. I don't want to get into this right now. If you want to go, if you want to, we don't have time, I don't think. Because
Well,
we
I
can talk
just-
about all of
I
Well-
think
a whole
that being
other-
unrealistic
we
is
should have-
also, you know, we have a 1,200 square foot community room and you're arguing over 120 square foot office building or an office room for someone.
If you want- Okay, would you like me to go on?
No. I think
Mayor
Tony,
Hughes.
we go to a separate meeting for this with the police chief
Yes,
involved.
Mayor Hughes, maybe we could schedule some kind of a work session or even an additional work session, and we can get involved in this.
Oh, well.
Not sure we want to argue it all out with the
And I'd like
architect
to
here.
say one other thing that I brought up in the emails is that, you know, the other thing that I'm opposed to is having the police on that part of the property. Because you got right outside of where the police is at, there's a fire pit, and then there's people maybe fishing and having activities out around the lake. And here you got our police department coming and going. You know, I would like to see the police on the opposite side of the building over where the community room is at, you know? So, like I said, I'm sorry that I'm just now getting involved in this. Because I have a lot of opinions about what the character of the building, what it's going to be used for. And I know in the past, it's all been driven by what the police and the staff want. Not that I completely disagree with that, you know, in some of the things that they've come up with. But, you know, I look at a woman's locker room, you know, we don't have any women at this particular time. You know, so there's a whole section of this, you know, however many square feet that isn't going to get used until we have a woman, you know, here. I'd like to see a shower. I'd like to see one community family restroom with a shower in it that everybody can use, one shower in the whole building.
Right.
In
So-
Well,
Tony,
yeah.
we appreciate your opinion. I think, as we've already said multiple times, this is not a conversation for this meeting.
all right,
So
well,
why don't we take this out to the what is it, the mid-month work session for May, and invite Chief Delp to that, and that will be our mid-month work session in May, is hammering out having that discussion.
There may be a decontamination shower in the police area anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay, but yeah, all
We
of that,
just-
we need to table all of that for now
Yeah,
so that we can
right.
continue this meeting, right? Because this meeting's got to get to where this meeting's got to get to.
Right.
And we will circle back around on that. My proposal would be at the mid-month work session in May, but if someone wants to put it on the calendar sooner, we can try to work that out as well.
I just have just a general question, I think two general. Number one is in the processing area, is that where the back door is? I can't figure out, where's the back door for the police? Or is it?
Yes.
That's it? Okay, just wanted to confirm that. And number two is, what is your price per square foot? Is it, I didn't know if it was based on that subtotal or the total. So is it 300 a square? Is that what it
We're
comes out to?
actually- Our basis for the new construction, we're carrying 215 in raw costs. And so for the renovation, it's really for the renovation, we're looking at more or less a complete gut of mechanical and electrical primarily. But so we're carrying 167 a square foot for that. And that's raw construction costs before you get the contractors fees and overhead in there.
And is that, I know that's probably because what we were looking before 2 years ago, which is, I know it seems like a lifetime now, but it was the 250, 275. What is-
I think once you add in if you look at the total project costs, I think you're in that same neighborhood.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have to go by BC and AC for before COVID and after COVID now.
Okay, so are we a wrap on Gorman?
And Ted, did you guys have more to cover or are we?
I think unless there's other questions, I think we've laid it out. A lot of these, I think a lot of the questions that come up about, program and how pieces work together, I think a lot of that are details that we will get into and work out and have some flexibility to look at as we move into the next phase of the project. So just so everyone's aware that this, what we've got here it's well researched, but it's not entirely set in stone either. So.
I have one question. President Wolf was discussing a work session, which we may bump up or have soon. If it's needed, would it be possible to have someone from your firm there at that work session? They're usually on Saturday mornings.
I think we could take a look at it depending on schedule, but I'm not sure who I would try to be there, but someone could definitely be there.
Thank you.
It
All right.
depends on the AAU basketball schedule for me, so.
Okay, so I think we're good on that. Let's go ahead and get back to our meeting so we can get going. Ted, you guys, thank you so much for answering questions. We'll let you know exactly when they decide to meet. I know that's going to throw your timeline off if we're not meeting until the 17th of May, but whatever they decide to do, we'll figure out what they want to do and then we'll get back with you guys and let you know. So we'll be in touch. And then let's move forward on getting legislation, Mark, if you're ready.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
Certainly
Thank
am.
you.
Give me a moment to pull up my meeting, my packet. I think after everything we've gone through, I forgot we even had that. But we will take 2 seconds here. There's my legislation. There's my agenda. Okay, looks like we have a lot of third readings tonight, so get ready for the fun, everyone. And hey, all my legislation pages are blank.
No, keep moving down. I don't know why there's blank ones, but keep moving.
There we go. Okay, that was just the trap, apparently.
That was a test.
Yeah, you don't want anyone reading your diary, so you keep the first 12 pages blank and hope they get tired of flipping. Gotcha. All right, starting with Resolution 2021-13, a resolution pursuant to 5705.19A of the Ohio Revised Code, declaring the necessity for the submitting the question of a renewal tax levy for purpose of providing for the current expenses of the general fund for the village of Minerva Park. This is the one that says, hey, we need to do a renewal levy because we need the money. This does not place it on the ballot. It is just us telling the county we need to do it. This is a third reading, so I will move to pass.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or debate? Well, looks like we're on to roll call.
All right, Councilperson Curl,
Aye.
Councilperson Bruder,
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilperson Tripp,
Aye.
and Council President Wolf.
Aye.
Awesome. All right.
All right, passed. On to 2021-14, a resolution to proceed with placing the issue on the ballot for a renewal tax levy for the purpose of providing for the current expenses of the village of Minerva Park. We just, of course, passed the resolution saying we need to renew this and need it. This would now be the legislation to put it on the ballot. and let the voters decide. It being the third reading, I move its approval.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and call that roll then.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Curl,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
aye.
Councilperson Shrimp,
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
All right.
All right, on to resolution 2021-15, a resolution appointing Brady Oxender and Diane Shrimp as the village designees. Is it designee appropriate there, or do we need to put an S?
Needs an S if you care. Yeah.
For the Tax Incentive Review Council and Community Reinvestment Authorities. This, of course, we need to meet here once a year to look over the TIF. It's a county requirement, and we need 2 representatives from the village. And Diane and Brady were kind enough to volunteer. This is a third reading. As such, I move to approve.
Second,
Any discussion on it? Did I misinterpret it in any way that needs cleared up? All right, looks like it's ready for a vote.
Councilperson Shrimp,
Aye.
Councilperson Berger,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
aye.
Councilperson Curl,
Aye.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Benedetti.
Aye.
All right.
All right, on to what I believe is our last one, Resolution 2021-16. A resolution appointing the fiscal officer as the village designee for public records training. Boy, I really don't have anything to say about this one because that is just such a self-obvious title. This is the third reading. As such, I move for passage or approval.
Second,
Any debate on this one, guys? All right, go ahead and call that roll, Madam Mayor.
Councilperson Benedetti,
Aye.
Council President Wolf,
aye.
Councilperson McNamara,
Aye.
Councilperson Curl,
Aye.
Councilperson Shrimp.
Aye.
And Councilperson Berger.
Aye.
Awesome.
All right, that is passed, and according to what I have here, unless there's some secret ones that I haven't found yet, that should be everything.
That is.
That's
All
all that
right.
was on the agenda.
Let's go. I don't know how I lose this stuff that fast every time. All right. Let's go to, I'm assuming it's new business is next.
Yes.
Anybody got new business? All right, I do.
Okay,
Oh, I heard somebody else. Did somebody else say something?
it's not really new business, but I just wanted to say, the announcements for meetings haven't been sent out yet, have they?
They were getting ready. I signed them today.
Okay. I was looking for work session for next, for thinking about things, and I'm like, have those been out? I'm trying to look at them. Okay, so they're coming out soon. I didn't miss them. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I wanted to know.
I signed them today. If anybody wants to add any meetings, speak now, but if not, we'll add them later. I signed them today, so I'm guessing they'll probably be out tomorrow. We usually do them the last week of the month
Okay.
before.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally delete the
No.
thing and miss out.
The first work session is the 8th. Just so you know. Okay, mower. Let's talk about this for 7 seconds. Not really 7 seconds. You know me better than that. So I sent you guys 4 mowers. Obviously, you guys have appropriated the money for the maintenance department to be able to get some of their equipment to where I wouldn't necessarily have to do all of this legislation and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is just one of those that I kind of, obviously with the amount of money that it is, I think it's appropriate to come to you guys and just kind of say yay or nay. Is there anybody against this? Is there anybody that has a certain mower in mind? I know Diane, you had a couple comments because I know you had actually worked on this process a little bit. So is there anybody that has any strong opinions towards what we get, what we don't get? Does everybody just want me to make the decision? Obviously there's some that work on hills a little bit better. Some that don't. thoughts? Did everybody get the email?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I replied that,
You did.
the first one, the CP or whatever, 600 is the one. I thought that, we should go for that. It's, we just need to look at the villages. We're getting into maintenance now, a larger area. Well, we need to have commercial grade stuff, I think.
Okay. Is there anybody, let me just ask it this way. Is there anybody opposed? It was 10/3/99. Is there anybody that is opposed to moving forward and getting that? That is the one that Boss Brothers brought to us to look at. They showed us how it worked on the Hill. We got to kind of see to make sure that we were okay with it. They actually do have a couple other items that we're interested in. This is government pricing on this. This one is about a $2,600 savings for government. I don't have it in front of me now. I hate to say that. It was around 2,000 something. I don't know why 2,600 is sticking in my mind, but government pricing, no tax, all that. It was still $10,399. They also had the, I believe it was the blower that we were interested in and something else. So we may go through them to get a couple of the commercial grade ideas that we, or, equipment that we need. So again, is there anybody speak now? If you are totally against this, if you guys want me to do legislation because this is such a large amount, if there's anybody that wants anything, let me know now. If not, we're calling Boss Brothers tomorrow. Do you guys want to do a yay or a nay or anything, or take the silence as move forward? I got a thumbs up,
It's
thumbs
a-
up, thumbs up. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a tool.
Yeah.
Make shortcuts on hills, and there you go, because we have some hills.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward on getting that stuff done. This is my plead for the 4 people that are probably watching this video, but I know sometimes later on people do get to do this. If anybody is aware of anybody that is looking for a part-time job, we have been actively looking since about October. We started putting some different ads in Indeed and some other things, so not really aggressive. As January, February kicked in, we definitely started becoming more aggressive with Indeed. We have advertised now in Craigslist. We have gotten it on the website. We have Facebooked it till you guys probably don't want to see it again. We've done it on the MPCA page as well as the village page. We have called Westerville North, Westerville South. We've called Central. We reached out to Johnstown. We cannot even get a teenager to do this job.
Now, this is a maintenance position?
Yes, and I'm not going to go political on you. All I can say is there's issues with hiring people people aren't even reaching out to find out how much it pays. I don't know what the complete problem is, but I'm telling you that I can't even get an email.
It's in every industry.
It is.
In that pay range,
Yes.
you know,
So-
just sitting at home waiting for the check.
So yeah, I said I wasn't going there. But yeah, my aunt is having the same problem. Everybody that I know that's trying to hire something in this range is having a problem. So this is my plea to anybody watching it. If you have a teenager that's at least 17 that wants some summer work, bring them in. If not, if you've got a 7-year-old that's willing to cut grass, I'll take him at this point. It is not, I love that you guys are laughing. I'm not laughing.
Maybe we
Yeah.
need to buy goats. We need to buy goats.
What does, this is an hourly position that with the hours range, are they set hours or?
It's you need to be a little flexible. I will be honest with that because, 10 to 2 is what we try to stick to. However, if it rains 5 days in a row and we need you to work on Saturday, I guess you could always say no. But we need people to cut grass. So you cut grass when grass is able to be cut. So if it's raining in the morning and we need you to do it later in the day, but we try to stick it around 10 to 2, but we would be flexible. If you can do noon to 4, call me. If we can't do really early in the morning because of the wet dew and all that kind of stuff on the grass, it doesn't really work. So, at least 10, 11, 12, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. We're not trying to be crazy here. I'm not kidding. I will take a 7-year-old that can push a lawnmower at this point.
Well, we're
And
getting
you're-
to riding lawnmower, so they won't have to push it. They can just ride it.
Well, yeah, I think
know,
Now, is that an
That's why they
official
have to be some-
employee status or is that a contractor status?
Contract.
yeah. So
I don't
anyways,
know that
you
this
know,
would work, but I've seen over on Hoff Road around Hoff Park, there's an office building and there's got an electronic lawnmower that's just always going, it seems like, you know.
I do
I,
Uh,
you know, maybe,
goats-
we had it, but then that'll get stolen the first.
Yeah.
first time you're not looking.
Is this listed as an outside contractor or is this actually a village employee position?
we are looking for village employee. We're looking for village employee. Again, we'll be as flexible as we possibly can, as long as the job's getting done, but it's mostly obviously weed eating, cutting grass. It's a seasonal maintenance person. We need people to help clean out the lake, just, you know, regular seasonal maintenance. We're not looking for anything crazy, even if you can spare a couple months. So if you can only do it through August or through whatever, at this point, I'll take just about anybody breathing. So that can do anything. You at least have to be breathing. But I also want you guys aware of the situation. We are not just hoping, and we are trying to be proactive. We are trying to, and I have not had a phone call nor a resume nor anything.
I would say one thing I'd like to bring up at this time is that let's hold off on cutting the grass at 161 in between the service road, because I got a feeling Columbus is getting ready to cut that.
Okay. Well, at this point, we haven't even talked about it because we don't even have time. And
Well, that's what I'm
right,
saying, and I'd like, I mean,
There's something in that
here,
along those lines I was hoping to bring up.
and then, so just really quick, the other part to that is obviously the pool's getting ready to need attention from our maintenance team and or our maintenance person, and we don't have the hours for it. I mean, I can't send, if I allow Brian to go over 30 hours, he's going to become a full-time person. Once you average over 30 hours for X amount of time, and then we have to pay benefits. So I'm just making, I just want everybody to know that
what
we
needs to
aren't
happen at the pool.
just the basic things, just getting the slide up and the all of the stuff that needs done. So, but John asked me if I could spare some hours, and as of right now, the answer is no. I really can't, because it's a lot of hours cutting, weed eating, all of that. So again, if anybody knows anybody that's looking for a job, reach out to me. Again, if any of you know anybody. Other than that, I'm going to ask for volunteers to take turns on the new riding lawnmower. How do you guys feel about that? So that's it. That's all I have for you guys. That was my main thing. So that was new business. Probably could have been old business. So now let's go to old business.
I have some old business.
Perfect. Go for it.
Very briefly, I talked to Mike Flickinger about that, you know, talking to Franklin County engineer about trying to find that pipe. He was Johnny on the spot. They already talked to them for records. So there went my idea.
Yeah.
Back to square zero with the mystery pipe.
I have an appointment with them next week.
So as far as scheduling a work session to talk about building design programming concerns, I was just looking at my calendar and realized that the 17th isn't going to work for me. So I wanted to take a second to float either the 3rd, right? Since Mondays is our favorite. We could either have a dedicated one for the 3rd, or after going over our agenda on the 8th, we could stay through a conversation then.
The quick answer I'm going to give about the 8th is I think asking Chief to come in on a Saturday when he's already worked Monday through Friday might be more difficult. I think he would probably prefer a Monday. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm just saying if it were me, I would think that the Monday would be better.
I would be better for me too, because I've been having some Saturday issues with another responsibility I have.
All right. Is everybody good for the 3rd?
Sure.
All right, then.
I'll mention this may require more time than we think, but I think we should put the time in.
I don't think
However that works
I
out.
think we need to, there's been a lot of time put in, and I think we need to focus on what absolutely needs to be discussed and not what forget about our own personal wish list and tackle the things that need to be. Otherwise, we will spend the whole time talking about things, and
I think
that's
I
how we'll
think
end the thing, talking about things.
Well,
come the third, I think what we'll need to do is frame what we intend to discuss and how we intend to move forward. Because, if we don't all agree, we can't sit still, right? So we have to understand how we'll come to some consensus and be ready to move forward, even if everybody isn't satisfied,
Right.
right? And we'll have a brief conversation on how we plan on doing that on the third. So,
well, to
Mayor
simplify,
Hughes.
I don't have a wish list, but I'm quite happy to participate.
all right, so the third it is 7 o'clock, just like usual Monday night work sessions.
Can we do 6? I'm just asking for a friend. It's up to you guys. No, I mean, honestly, again, when we start talking about chief working until 9 o'clock at night, because this is not gonna be a 30-minute conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference to me. 6 is fine by
Well-
me, but other people.
I don't know about others.
Well, it could be that if we hammer this out, that there may be a second work session needed where then we could have the chief.
How about if we trade this work session for a sec? This 6 o'clock, I'm sorry, the 6 o'clock personally messes up our dinner schedule, and I'm doing all these gymnastics. So I'd hate to make it 4 Mondays in a row.
I agree.
We could trade the 3rd for the 17th or whatever the day is.
Sure, that's fine.
Agree.
I would like that very much.
We
I
have a
completely
work session on the 8th. Can this just be the topic of that? Saturday, the 8th?
Well, what I was saying is I think I don't want to speak for chief, but inviting chief
Yeah.
in on a Saturday when I hate to make him get in.
But he doesn't have to come in because it's going to be virtual anyway. He can just be at home and log on to his. I would understand if we were making him drive into the building, but since it's just, I got to log on to this thing for an hour.
Yeah, I can ask him.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's-
Well, I
Is
think
it
the point is
necessary
he's
that the
already
chief
here,
has-
and he has a bit of a drive, so, right?
Does the
Yeah,
chief
sure.
have to be at the meeting?
Well, yeah, the
whole
concern,
point is some of the usage questions.
Yeah,
the
okay.
primary concern raised was the police space and their requirements.
Right.
So we'd want him early on in the meeting, not,
Correct.
yeah, okay.
And I see what you mean about pulling them in on a Saturday, but as I say, since it's virtual, I don't feel as bad about doing that, I guess is what I would say. Because it's not him having to get in his car and schlep into the village.
I'll ask whatever. It doesn't matter to me.
So here, can I be really horrible and say, I think we should go with the 3rd? Because if, God forbid, we don't get our ability to move forward, then we still have the 8th. Right?
That's true too.
So better to allow ourselves 2 bites at the apple than only having 1.
Well, and I think chief can answer your questions on Monday. And
Yep.
I don't know that we would need him again on Saturday, because at that point here's how I'm gonna say this. We've gone through, like I said in my email, we've gone through 2 chiefs, 2 mayors, multiple people interviewed. This is still the outcome that we continually get, whether you like it or whether you don't. He may give a great answer. You still may not like his answer. So I think at the end of the day, it's what do you want the police department to have? If you compare what the police department square footage is compared to what admin, compared to what the community room is, it's pretty minimal. Whether or not we have 1 shower or 2, I think we don't need the chief to discuss that. I think the chief is going to be grateful for having one that's a multi-function. I don't think anybody is hung up on any of those things. So back to this, I would agree with you. I think trying to get him there Monday, and then worst case, the rest of it's left up to council what they decide they want to do. I mean, he's not going to try to change people's minds and do all that. He will give you the explanation of why there are certain things. And then it's our issue to determine what we want to do with it. He isn't going to comment on whether or not to flip-flop the building. I'm assuming flip-flopping the
Right.
building is more of a design issue, but that was.
Right, it's an
Well,
elevation, yeah.
I also agree with
Topographic.
Brian because we may need 2 bites at the apple.
I hope
So-
it only takes 2 bites at the apple.
I agree. I think,
Right.
like Diane said, we've been through this 7 times, I feel like. So at some
Yeah.
point,
So let's just go ahead with 6 o'clock on the 3rd.
perfect. And I'm actually gonna text him real quick. I don't need you guys for that. You're good.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other old business?
I have one item. I don't know what you would call it. It has to do, it touches on the school subject. And that is, some of the school buses seem to be extremely long to make some of these turns here. I've noticed some of them backing up because they can't get around circles and so on. And I was wondering if other people have information on that. I do know they have shorter buses available. Might be something to look into.
I think the quick
We
answer
will-
I have is our buses are
Somebody's-
typically full.
Yeah, we will never have control over what buses Westerville sends. Right? They're not our buses. We can't tell them what buses to send.
I think they're pretty full. I don't know that they
Yeah.
use smaller buses.
I think that's the concern.
Well, I've seen shorter ones, but it was just a question
They
because,
have those shorter ones, but Joe, the buses are full, if not over full. Tiffany, if you think it's hard getting someone to cut the grass, talk to Westerville about finding bus drivers.
I can imagine.
There were 3 days, I believe, this year where Westerville City Schools went all virtual because even with double routes, they could not run a bus schedule. And had
no,
to
I
go all
wasn't getting
virtual
into
'cause they couldn't pick
capacity.
people up.
Yeah, I wasn't discussing capacity of buses or drivers. It was when the school report came in and they're going to widen the road and the addition of the new school. I think it was you, Diane, that had mentioned that the buses have a difficult time turning at Minerva Lake Road. Was that not you, Diane? Somebody mentioned that. And so
Yeah,
that was
no,
all I was inquiring about.
I did mention that, yes. And yes, that is a 4-way stop. That is awkward. But there's a lot of turns in our park that are awkward also, so,
Yeah.
but I mean, we can't, we're not gonna solve for Westville schools. We're not gonna be able
No,
to
I-
solve whatever it is
I
there.
was trying to work on, some concept of the traffic problems.
I
I
mean, the
noticed the
garbage,
buses backing up at times.
yeah, the garbage trucks have the same problem and they don't, they're huge and they get to your circles. We don't see that so much on Minerva Lake Road. But, it's the same thing. We've got some narrow areas. We do. Okay,
All right, any other pieces of old business? All right, then you're on mute, Tiffany.
Chief is good Monday, 6 PM. The
All right, very good. Post it. All right, move to adjourn.
Bye, guys.
Second.
All
second,
right, all in favor, aye.
I.
Everybody have a
Guys.
wonderful night.